Okay, the question today is on consonant clusters, and the question is, are these important to learn for Hangul or not? So first, before I answer the question, I'm going to go over exactly what we're referring to when we say consonant clusters, and then we'll get into my answer. So we know that sort of Korean is written in blocks, okay? And each block is basically a syllable. And if you studied the first class, then you know that the writing rules, the first thing in a block must be a consonant, okay? So I'm going to put this. Now, depending on the vowel, if it's a horizontal one or a vertical one, it will go under or on. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into this, but anyways, the next thing has to be a vowel, okay? So I'm going to choose this. Now, if there is another character in this block, it has to be a consonant, okay? And it has to go on the bottom, okay? Now, sometimes we run into cases where we have two consonants on the bottom, okay? Like this, okay? So this is what we're referring to when we say a consonant cluster, okay? We're referring to these two consonants, different consonants on the bottom of a block, okay? So the question was, are these important to learn? And they're all of these ones. These are all different consonant clusters, okay? And the question is, are these important to learn for Hangul? And my answer is yes, but they're not worth studying altogether. In my opinion, some of them just are not common at all. Some are more common than others, and I'll show you a few here in a bit. And the other thing is, by studying them all together, you know, down the road you'll get a little bit confused, or I find I would get confused, you know, oh, which one was which again. Whereas if you study each one as it comes, as you see a word and it's there, you learn it, you learn the pronunciation, then you know it. And by doing that, you know, at separate times, you'll have a different association with each one, and it's easier to keep clear. So, yeah, you need to know them to be able to read, but as I'll show you here, they're not that difficult, and again, they're just not really worth learning, putting all your energy into learning all of them at once. So let's go over a few examples here. Anta, okay, which means to sit. Okay? In this base form, anta, okay, you're not going to hear, we have an N and a J, okay? Anta, we're not going to hear that J at all, okay? But this D will be a little bit harder, more like a double D because it's following a consonant, okay? So we'll hear the anta, okay? Now, most cases you're not going to be using this form anyways. You'll be using this form. Okay? Now here we have anjayo. This sounds the same as this. So we can see this consonant is coming up. So we have our silent consonant here. This is going to come up and fill that sound, anjayo. Okay? So this is, you can see they're not really, they're basically just whatever that sound is, you know, you're going to say when it's in this form. Okay? This is the base form again, not use that much. Let's look at another example. Here we have opta, okay? Opta. So again, we can hear we're saying this, opta, okay? And we're not even hearing this. And again, this is in the base form. You know, it's used, it's said, but let's look at it in the other form. Okay? Here, the same thing is going to happen. Opsoyo, opsoyo. Okay? If you know isoyo, opsoyo, okay, two of the most common words there are. This will sound exactly the same as opsoyo. Okay? So basically you can see when we have these and they're preceding this vowel, which in a lot of times when a verb conjugates, I don't know if you've got into this yet or not, but this is the way it will end up being. It'll precede this silent consonant and vowel sound. So a lot of times when you see it, you're basically just going to say both because this is going to carry up here. So opsoyo. Okay? Okay, here's another example. Okay? 괜찮다. Okay? In the base form, we have this H. Okay, here's our consonant cluster. We have this H preceding this D. And now, I don't know if you've studied this far yet, but we know this is going to turn this D sound into a T sound, okay? 괜찮다. Now this really has nothing to do with the cluster necessarily, except for that this is combining with this. But when we look at it in the expanded form, okay? 괜찮아요. You may have heard this, okay? It can be a question. Are you okay? I'm okay. 괜찮아요, okay? 괜찮아요? 괜찮아요, okay? Now here, it's just going to sound, to be honest, this H is not going to sound like anything, okay? 괜찮아요. So here it does have a bit of a function by turning this D into a T, but here it will have no function, okay? It'll just, as if it's not there. 괜찮아요, okay? So those are three examples, three very common examples, just to try to show you that, you know, yes, they're worth learning, but just learn them one by one as you get them. Understand the sound, understand how it works, okay? Learn the sound in the base form, okay, with that da in the end, and then learn the sound, if it's a verb, and learn the sound of the expanded form again if it's a verb, and just take it one by one. So I do think they're important and worth knowing, but you can see they're not that difficult, and they're definitely not worth just studying those on your own. I think you'd be putting too much energy into something that, you know, a lot of them are not common, like I said, so, you know, it's just kind of a waste of energy. You could be putting that into, you know, studying more stuff you're going to use more often. So I hope that helps, and if this brings up any more questions, let me know. Cheers.